Spooky season is here. We're talking with Megan from the History Museum about grim tales of Great Falls that she's uncovered after more than a decade of research. This is the true crime edition of We're No Damn Experts.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're No Damn Experts. It feels like it's 6 o'clock in the morning to me.
I know it does feel, I was feeling that too. I was like, I got a decent amount of sleep, had an extra day off, still just as out of it and tired. Yeah.
So I am stoked about the topic you've brought to us today because it's that time of season. It's that time of the year. Spooky season.
It's that time of the fall season too,
Yes.
specifically spooky season. Yes.
And our guest brought in some illustrations, which now
I'm
has
very
me
excited about.
asking a lot of questions that we'll get to when they talk about their stories. So Shannon, what did you come up with today?
We are excited to have Megan from the History Museum here to join us. And she just did a presentation about, so this will be the audio recording. If you couldn't make it in person, it will live on forever here. So she just did the second Saturday event, which the History Museum does every second Saturday. They have
all year long
different featured presentation research, and this one is called "Grim Tales of Great Falls." Megan, welcome.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And she's complete with her Bat Spooky Season sweater on today.
It
too.
is gorgeous.
So, yeah.
Before we get started into the deep depths of this, let's get our viewers. Yep, that's what you are today. Let's get our listeners to know a little bit about you. How long you've been at the museum, where you came from. Are you a Great Falls kid? How much you love Great Falls? All those fun things.
Okay, so I've been with the History Museum for the last decade.
Holy moly, that's a long time.
I have a bachelor's in history from the University of Providence, Great Falls.
Oh,
Nice.
I'm
Argo.
Yes. I am an Air Force brat, so this is the last place I ended up. I did finish high school and did college here.
oh, wow.
Great Falls is really a fun town. Won't lie, I still miss towns being closer.
In between towns. Yeah.
Yeah, when before we were here, I was in California.
Okay.
So, instead of being 10 minutes to the next town, it's an hour and a half.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A little more spread out. Yeah.
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 But
Awesome.
no, it's really fun, and this is my favorite time of year.
Ooh.
So are you naturally a spooky murderino type gal?
True crime thing.
I'm more of the gothic
Ah.
kind of beauty to it. I got married on Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, not so much the blood and gore, but there's something beautiful about the gothicness of
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So
Oh, I love this.
Speaking of that, the gargoyles at the Ursuline Center, aren't those cool? We had him on and learned that those are the only functioning gargoyles in the state of Montana. And so those are so pretty. I just took a drone up to get shots of them recently. So anyway, it just reminded me of.
And October 31st every year, they come to life for 10 minutes and fly
Ooh.
around the Ursuline Center and then project it. That's a lie.
We'll try to capture that. Yeah.
100% that's a lie. So you're going to talk to us about the grim tales of Great Falls. Give us some background. How did you come upon this? How did you decide to delve into this?
So all of these
Just
stories
came to you in a premonition.
So part of my job is helping patrons do research and answer their questions a lot of the time. And this is just stuff I've kind of found along the way in my last decade. There are some other stories that are a little more recent, so I've been waiting on those. People would actually know those and remember them.
So you're like, we'll put some more time in between us and those stories.
Yeah. Well, and like our first story, somebody was looking into this gal in particular. When she died, she had a daughter, and it mentioned that a brother had come to town to take care of her stuff. But it never tells us the name of the brother ever. I mean, even in the records that the city had for getting rid of her estate and things like that.
So, in general, all these stories have facts behind them that support the architecture of what this story is.
Yes.
They're not
all,
just somebody got drunk in a bar and it's like, oh, let me tell you about this.
These are researched facts.
yes, these are fully researched, with the exception of one. I'm still working on it. But all of these are newspapers, records from the city and county, all that kind of stuff. Coroner's inquests, of course. So
let's dive in then. I think
Yeah.
that's enough background because I want to devote most of the time to learning
The
about
actual stories.
These are things that happened in Great Falls at some point in the history.
And I also want to mention, so you, Megan, have given us a lovely map that shows the location of these stories we're going to talk about. I will post on our Facebook page. Just visit Great Falls for anyone who wants to go back and reference that. We'll have that. And if you're in town, we'll have a couple copies of them available too. So if you want to go on your own quest to find these locations.
And I'm going to make the plug now because we made that plug when we were visiting with the Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art. After you hear this and you experience this for yourself, feel free to stop by the History Museum and drop some money in a jar to say, this is what I feel this price of admission would be for me. So thank you for the work.
Because it's also free admittance to the History Museum. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Let's
so
get
excited.
going. All right.
okay. So this first story is called Goodbye Goldie.
Okay.
Okay.
And I got to provide you a tiny bit of background to make it make sense.
Okay.
So where this takes place is a place called Rosebud Alley. Yes, that is actually what it was called in the newspaper and everything. That was its nickname. And this is what we would describe as First Alley South,
Okay.
between 1st and 2nd Street and 2nd and 3rd Avenues.
Okay.
Or flip that.
Yeah. Yep.
This was back in the day known as the Tenderloin District, or more commonly known as the Red Light District.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't think
Hussies.
I knew. Yeah,
Yes.
Great Falls had a red light district.
Well,
Yes.
we did.
Okay.
I didn't know that until now either. But
Right.
I just guessed.
Assumed. Yeah.
You have to
Okay.
assume we had one.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
Rosebud
Rosebud Alley. Huh.
And it's kind of fun. This lovely map that you're looking at here is off of a Sanborn map. And all of the places that these lovely ladies were staying were labeled female boarding,
So
to be a little more appropriate. So you know where these places are. You can find them pretty
Okay.
easy.
Female boarding,
boarding.
places. Okay.
So this is the story about one of those wonderful ladies.
Okay.
So she was a female boarder
Yes.
in the red light district.
Yes.
Okay. So that's all.
Goldie.
That's all.
Goldie.
Goldie Graham.
Goldie Graham.
That's a good name in
Is that
general.
a real name,
And also
or was that just her name?
for
The Graham
female
part
boarder.
was true, but the Goldie part was her nickname or her madam name.
Okay. Okay.
So James Cornell, a saloon keeper from Cascade, came to Great Falls late on a warm July night.
Ooh.
He got off the train and headed right for the red light district. He had something on his mind.
I'm sure he did.
I know what he had on his mind.
Or do you?
Probably not.
He came to the alley between 1st and 2nd Avenues South and went to the home of Myra Collins. Myra Collins was one of the madams of Rosebud Alley. When he arrived at the door, he asked for Goldie, his usual girl.
Ooh.
Miss Collins took Mr. Cornell to a sitting room and went to fetch Goldie. Goldie Graham, a young gal of 23, had been in Great Falls for 2 years, and during the last 6 months had been keeping Mr. Cornell company.
Not every day, though.
No. Had to take a train.
Miss Collins brought Goldie into the room, and they all got comfortable. Mr. Cornell had been drinking and was sullen and quarrelsome. Goldie and he argued back and forth. Suddenly, Cornell jumped up and raising a .44 caliber revolver above his head, he screamed at Goldie, "I've been going to do this for a long time, and now I'll finish it."
Oh my gosh. This has gone vastly different than I expected.
Miss Collins leapt and yelled at Goldie to get out of the room. Goldie was slow to heed the warning, though. His threats were nothing new, and he had threatened this many times before in his drunken states.
Oh.
When at last she became alarmed and started to run, Cornell was too quick and shot her in the side.
Oh my gosh.
Goldie.
I told you these are grim.
Yeah.
Well, I expected a little bit of love before this.
Well, yeah,
no,
not
we
this
just
time.
started the fight.
Not this time.
The bullet entered the left side well toward the base of her lungs, passed entirely through her body, tearing a hole through her right arm, and lodged itself in the wall.
Oh.
Oh man.
Goldie managed to rush through the rear door of the house and out into the yard. Ida Brown, who lived next door, came hearing the gunshots and grabbed Goldie as she was in the process of falling. Her dress was burning, having caught fire from the powder flash.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine seeing that? Like this
I
girl
can't
running
even
with her dress
imagine.
on fire?
And that's the stuff you never see in movies.
no, you don't see him catch on fire.
Seems pretty real.
Yeah.
Realistic,
Yeah.
when you know how those kind of guns work.
Wow.
Okay.
She half carried her into her home while putting out the garment fire. There she was treated by physicians and sent to the Deaconess Hospital.
Oh.
Oh, oops. Deaconess was still around.
Yeah.
Back in the room, Mr. Cornell did not pursue Goldie as she left his sight. He turned the gun on himself, putting it level with his right ear, and pulled the trigger.
Oh.
He fell face down, instantly killed. When his body had been taken to the morgue and searched, a fine watch and a handsome diamond ring were found on his possessions.
Ooh.
Mr. Cornell was 45, married, and had been living separately from his wife. Goldie spent the next week in the hospital, but succumbed to her wounds, and she was buried out in Highland Cemetery.
Oh.
He had a diamond ring in his pocket?
Yeah, this is one of
Like-
those love-hate relationship kind of things.
Yeah. So
Do
we know the intention of this ring?
Do you suspect that maybe he was going to propose? Or he just wanted to fight and...
Well, and they never say what it is. Is it the ring from his wife that
Yeah, is
she had
it-
finally given it back to him?
Right. There's lots of options here.
Gosh, there's so much.
Yeah, and then
There's so much I need to know
I
now.
know. And then going in, did he intend that was his last moments too, or he just like, you know
Man,
what I mean?
I don't-
Like, oh boy.
And you'd have to think the wife plays some kind of part in this story of why he ended up there
Yeah.
in that state that night. Huh.
What year was this?
This was... I didn't put the date.
Oh, generally.
1890s, 1900.
Okay.
I was trying to remember when she died.
Gotcha. So did Goldie end up dying
Yeah.
that time too? She
Succumbed
did.
to her
Oh,
things
succumbed
after
to her. That's right. That's
after
right.
a long stay at the
Oh,
Deaconess.
that's right. My goodness. Okay, Rosebud Alley. I'm curious. So this is the freight yard area. So that's
Number one.
yeah.
on
Are
our
there
map.
are there just regular homes there right now?
There's a parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Well, pretty much.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, unfortunately, this is the time period where a lot of buildings would have still been wooden. And as
Yeah.
soon as we were able to put brick up, they tore
They
down
tore
all that
it.
stuff.
Gotcha.
'Cause Fires
Okay.
were very
But it's-
prevalent.
Yes. Okay.
It was a good way to get rid of your enemies.
Yeah.
Back in
Oh,
the
man.
day.
Yeah.
I mean, arson was a typical thing at that point, too.
Yeah. You look back. I mean, there really were a lot of fires.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
my goodness.
Goodbye,
Well,
Goldie.
Well, Goldie, thank you for that story. And
Yeah.
Megan, thank you for finding it and sharing it with us.
Hey,
I'm
shall
ready
we
for the next
move
one.
on to Walter.
I mean, if this is any indication, I think a lot of these stories are just going to leave you asking more
What?
questions. And that's where you can go to the History Museum and, you
more
can
yourself.
start digging in.
Absolutely.
See what
In the
else you can
new-
find.
in the new research center.
Okay.
See, you asked for Walter next.
Well, it doesn't. That was just
That's
number
just
two
number 2,
on there.
yeah.
But you,
You
go
can- you
wherever
can go
you want to
wherever
go.
you-
I don't
Okay.
care.
You
Yeah,
know why?
You pick.
Because nobody else has this
Nobody
map,
else has this
and
right
no
now.
one knows what's coming next.
And you're the expert and in control of this conversation.
You can do what you want.
We're just drinking our coffee and listening to
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one that came up when I started looking into the ghost at the lobby bar.
Okay.
Okay.
Which, for all of you listeners, there's been rumors that there's a ghost, if you believe in such things, which Shannon does not. If that there might be a ghost in the lobby bar, or that there is a ghost in the lobby bar.
The lobby bar, which is now
Oh, yes.
the Wild Hare.
The Wild Hare. Mm-hmm. So Matt and
Matt,
Amber.
Rob, and Amber Wendy.
I apologize. Matt and Amber were on and shared a little bit of that
They did,
story.
yeah.
So, okay. And if you wanted that episode, you got to go back.
Right.
So
we've set the location. See,
the Wild Hare.
Okay, so back in the day,
Yep.
you know, there would be businesses on the first floor, and then the upper floors would be hotels.
Residences.
Yeah, and that sort of thing. So above the lobby bar is a place called the Davenport Hotel.
Ooh.
Okay, that's where it was. Okay.
Huh. And now it's in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, I know. I was like, that's
Actually,
the Davenport. I know.
they were existing at the same time. That's what made this
Oh.
such a thing to find.
Oh, that's got to
Interesting.
be in.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we are relatively close to Spokane, Washington.
Right, and the Davenport, there's very like
Elite.
fancy. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, when you're looking through the newspapers and you're like Davenport Hotel and everything's in Spokane, I'm like, that's
you're
not
like,
what
that's
I'm looking
not
for.
helpful.
Okay. Mrs. Ella Pryor did not know why she shot her husband.
Oh.
That's what she said to the county attorney, Ted James, on Wednesday, November 7th, 1951.
Ooh.
She had a lot on her mind lately. She had married James Pryor 2 months ago, after having lived with him for a year. She had been to see her doctor, who found 2 tumors and 1 chance out of 5 of having cancer.
Oh.
She went to a local sporting goods store and purchased a gun. She decided if it was cancer, that she didn't want to suffer.
Oh my goodness.
Can I just interject that I immediately think the sporting goods store is Ukrainians?
Ukrainians.
Yeah. Ron Ukrainians'
Yeah.
father had a sporting goods
Yeah,
store.
Ukes.
Ukes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if that is fact or not,
Oh
but
boy,
the gun was purchased
bringing
at
that
Ukes.
family into this story, huh? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't specify, so
Yeah.
I'm like, it could be.
Yeah,
could
that's
be.
exactly where I went. So, okay, back
Okay.
to your story.
She placed the gun in a dresser drawer in their room at the Davenport Hotel,
Oh, they lived there.
which is was
Common.
pretty common for that time period.
Okay.
Can't afford a home, but you can rent a room for however long you need to.
Interesting. Okay.
She worked at the Top Notch Cafe until 9 Tuesday morning. She felt she couldn't do her work properly and went home. And then she went to the gravel pit where her husband was working and was with him all afternoon riding around in his truck. At day's end, they went home and played cards with another couple at the hotel. When they returned to their room, Mr. Pryor laid down in bed, and Mrs. Pryor listened to the radio for a time. I walked over to the dresser and just shot him, she said. Mr. Pryor didn't scream. He looked at his wife, said nothing, then opened the door and fled down the stairway. Mrs. Pryor shot several more times while following her husband.
Oh my gosh.
Again, she says right up front, I don't know why I did it.
Well, the follow up, I mean, the follow up shots are really like what's like, well, okay.
Oh, it gets
More
better.
importantly, the husband's just like,
The
yeah.
heck?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there's no screaming. There's no,
There's
what
no
did you
like,
do,
what
woman?
did you do? Yeah.
He's
Just
just
looks
like,
at her.
probably shouldn't be here any longer. And then
feel like there's more-
leaves the room.
I need more understanding of
'Kay.
their marriage. Yeah.
We had this beautiful afternoon together,
Yeah.
and now we're
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Downstairs, Mr. John Leach, a clerk, was working in the hotel office. At 10:45, he heard shots. He looked out of his office and saw Mr. Pryor coming down the stairs, his wife following him with a gun. Pryor fell just as he rounded the corner, and Mrs. Pryor fired 2 more shots while he was lying on the floor.
Oh
Again,
my gosh. She doesn't know why.
she doesn't know why.
These are so many shots to not
So
know,
many. Right. That's what
not to have some anger or something built
Right.
up. Oh my goodness.
I done it. I shot him, she said. Robert Harvey, operator of the hotel, came out of his room, and Mrs. Pryor tried to hand him the pistol, but he informed her he was calling the police. Mrs. Pryor then said she was going to change her clothes, and upon her return, she lifted her husband's head and said, "Why did I do it?" and put the gun on the table. She really had, like, no idea that she did, why she did it.
This is why you never can trust anybody. Gosh.
Ella Pryor had shot her husband 6 times,
My God.
1 in the front and 5 in the back.
Holy criminy.
She had blood on her chin when she was taken to into police custody. She was examined by 2 psychiatrists and pled guilty to murder. Her action in shooting her husband may be best described as the explosion of an emotional time bomb, the fuse of which was lit in the emotionally deprived atmosphere of her childhood. She had grown up in an orphanage, married at 16, left her first husband and her child, and then came to Montana with James Pryor.
Oh my goodness.
So not exactly the most loving
Right.
family.
No.
Or rational or kind.
No. Very much detached from
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
I'm done here now.
On November 14th, 1951, she was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to life in the state prison. She accepted her sentence calmly. The only thing she said during her trial was that she was guilty.
Huh.
And that's that
Wow.
story.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I feel like that story is a psychologist's playground to try to figure out what happened.
Again, I'm going to relate this to pretty much anything I know, which I've seen on TV. So like Grey's Anatomy's had many episodes where there's like a tumor causing people to be weird. So maybe
I kind of forgot
that's where
about
I
that.
went with
Actually,
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
Did it
tell
say if it was brain tumor or not?
No,
Yeah.
it never mentioned where her tumors were or anything like that.
1 in 5 chance they might have been cancerous, but we're not going to dig
We're
into
not
that.
going to actually. Yeah.
No.
But I mean, that is something, because all of us are medical professionals. But I mean, you're right. That could be if it was something in the brain or something. I mean, that could be something.
Yeah, you never
And then
know.
that would, or she's just, detached human and was like, yeah,
Right.
I'm done with this.
Yeah,
Do
I
we
mean,
know how long she lived for? If they ended up being cancerous or not?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. The
Yeah.
records for the state prison are still inaccessible at this time.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah, they go back a certain period of time, and then unfortunately, the older ones are at the State Historical Society, which is currently closed until next year.
Okay, so this could be a follow-up eventually too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do want to find out. I like having complete stories. I
Yeah.
don't want to just be like, oh. And I did try to look up an obituary for her and didn't
Right.
find anything.
Interesting.
So,
Okay.
but keep in mind, if she was 23 and 51, she could
still be alive.
Yeah. But, how do you call up the state prison and say, hey, is this prisoner still alive?
I'll do it. Do you want me to do it?
On the next episode, if we're no damn experts, we investigate.
What was her name again?
Ella Pryor.
P-R-Y.
Pryor.
Well,
There is a database.
I'm pulling up Conweb.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, I'm sure you.
I didn't know about this one. This is cool.
This is from my news background.
Yeah,
Let's
you
pull
can
this up
search
here.
any inmate if you have their first and last name.
P-R-Y-O-R.
Yep.
Correct.
And then Ella.
ELLA.
Okay.
Hold on, people. We
No
may be.
offenders found matching that search.
Okay, she probably is already gone.
Well, this could also be the situation where she died and nobody cared, and she was just buried in an unmarked grave in the back of the state pen. So.
Yeah.
There's an Alexa Nicole. Oh, no, they're all too young. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, she kind of killed her husband, and I don't know if her first husband would be interested, and she's an orphan, so...
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it kind
lot
of
of
makes sense why
elements.
she wouldn't necessarily have an obituary or really any follow up because all of the family is
Nobody would be looking for her.
gone. Right.
I can't. The one oddity to me, other than the whole story, is she just left work and went and rode around with her husband at his job.
Right. Like, I'm not feeling this. Which
That's
whatever.
like you going. That's like me. Just I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then drive up and just ride around with my husband at his work. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Where's the workplace safety in that? Or the. I mean, because it's a quarry.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
some
I mean-
elements here where. Okay.
I mean, 50s were pretty lax.
Yeah, that's true. Anything goes. You want your 2-year-old to work here? Get him a hard hat. We're
Yep.
good to go. Okay.
Oh. I'm sure you found that the Montana History Portal has her
Prison
prisoner.
records.
I can't really turn this computer around, but I'm going to try.
over
There. Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Is that her?
That is her. I haven't actually seen this yet. I didn't get to do that much hunting.
Yeah. So
Look
there
at
she is. Maybe I'll link this in the show notes for people so they can see what we're.
Not maybe.
I
Let's
will.
do
I
it.
will. I will.
This
Yeah.
would be a great episode to add that Facebook page of our podcast and then
Yes.
put that on there.
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Maybe I'll just
I like
do
how
it.
this says, did kill one James Robert Pryor, a human being.
Yeah, that is literally what it says.
Feloniously and with malicious afterthought.
So it wasn't premeditated, is what
but
they
usually
decided.
forethought, not afterthought.
Well,
Yeah, and she was sentenced to remainder of life.
so it wasn't premeditated, even though she went to Ukes and got a. I apologize. She went to a sporting goods store and got a gun beforehand.
And again, I didn't mention it in the story in particular, but in the articles, she said, I bought the gun to use on myself,
Oh,
specifically.
And then just.
and that does make sense.
like I
yeah.
said, she didn't want to suffer. And that's what I tried
Yeah.
to get across. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. I'm going to go find that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her hair's all like nice and done, and she's in her like
Well, it's the 50s.
regular like work clothes.
They didn't have athleisure
See,
wear then.
I should send you the photos I used for this too.
Yeah.
Because the picture I got of her from the paper has the blood smear on her chin that I mentioned.
Oh,
'Cause
still?
yeah, because it was her mugshot.
Oh,
Interesting.
I'll send that to you.
Okay,
just 'cause
perfect.
It's cool.
Perfect. Okay.
next story,
Next
please.
story.
Okay.
I'm so
I know, Lawrence. It's interesting.
Okay, so this one's a personal favorite of mine.
okay.
Great.
And we dug into this one because we have a painting of this child.
Oh, was this the poster?
Yes.
For the event?
Yes. That is the painting.
Okay.
And, you know, we try to do background into the objects we have. And, you know, we have to have a reason to have them. And this is all about him. So this story is called The Conrad Baby Body Snatching.
I don't know why this sounds familiar.
I did put this one up as a blog a few years ago.
Okay.
But, you know, not everybody reads them, so I like telling the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
The oral history right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tragedy struck on April 4th, 1909, when 3-year-old Arthur Gale Conrad died from spinal meningitis.
Oh.
He was such a sweet-looking child.
Sweet baby boy.
Harfield Conrad, the boy's father, had taken baby Arthur from their home in Great Falls to Southern California to improve his condition. Conrad returned with his son's body and buried him in Highland Cemetery. As if losing their son was not heartbreak enough, in November of that year, they were struck by another tragedy. On the morning of the 25th, it was discovered that baby Conrad's grave was disturbed and that his body had been taken.
Oh.
Well, that's a twist I wasn't
Oh,
expecting.
yeah.
The boy's casket was placed at the entrance of the cemetery, indicating the robbers wanted their crime to be discovered.
Creepy.
Yeah. The Conrad family was well-to-do and involved in banking in several Montana cities. City of Conrad, Conrad Bank, all of that stuff.
Anything with Conrad, because there's
Yeah.
a Conrad mansion.
Yep.
It used to be a bed and breakfast. Beautiful home.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been in there. Done murder mysteries there.
Ah. Do you
Back
know
in the
this
day.
story?
No, not
Okay.
at all.
Everyone knew what was coming next, a ransom note.
A ransom. Wait. This seems, I'm just going to say it, this seems backwards that you're going to
Yeah.
take a dead child and then
And have a
put a
ransom?
ransom on him to get your dead child back.
Yes. This does seem a little
Okay.
odd. Anyway.
Yeah. For months, local papers were silent as the police and Conrad worked to retrieve his son's body. Conrad received letters from the body snatchers, and he had made one attempt at making a trade, but that had failed. Then in March of 1910, the papers lit up again when 2 people were arrested in connection with the grave robbery. Conrad had been seeing a woman for fortune-telling card readings. Yeah, I love this story. It's so good.
Yep.
And she revealed details that had not been made public. She also accurately predicted the next steps the body snatchers would take. So Conrad went to the police.
She's the body snatcher.
The card reading woman was identified as Alice Locker, and she and her husband, Fred Locker, were taken to jail. The pair were found not guilty of being accessories to the grave robbing, but did time for unlawful cohabitation.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The woman, Alice Lutz, had been living with Fred Locker for years, but the two were never formally married. And it's illegal to cohabitate if you're not married at
What-
this time period.
When was this again?
1910.
Oh, okay.
She did 4 months
So they
and
took them to jail because
of cohabitation.
but nothing to do with.
Well, they suspected
They were
about that.
suspected.
They suspected that because she
But
like
that
accurately
did not
foretold these
happen.
things.
They
They
said,
just got in trouble
"Oh,
for
no."
living together.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not a grave robber, but good
But-
Lord, you cannot live together.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
She did 4 months. He did 6 months. Both were also fined. The newspaper became quiet again. For some time after, Conrad had been receiving letters signed W.C. Hastings, who offered to restore the body upon payment of $1,500. The letters instructed Conrad to answer by placing personal ad in the Great Falls Tribune and initialing it H.C. Okay, so this next part's a little weird because it's complicated.
Okay.
But
It's all weird, but
but I typed it exactly as it was in the
Okay.
paper, so. Hastings then sent him instructions. Mr. Hartfield Conrad, this is what you must do. Take a one-seated automobile and one man with you and go out on the road that goes through Little Chicago and northeast over the hills till you come to the telephone line, because of course there was only one telephone line.
Good landmark.
Yeah. Then follow the road going to Flowery and Fort Benton.
Okay.
You must have a light in front of your feet and one behind so we can see no one is in your car, only the two of you. And put the money, $1,500, all in $20 gold pieces in a sack, and all the letters you have ever got from us in a good, strong white sack. And just as soon as you drop the sack, and watch for a light on the left-hand side of the road and drive your car at a speed of 15 miles per hour. And just as soon as you see the light drop the sack out on the side of the light is on, close to the car, but do not stop or slow up. And just as soon as you drop the sack, increase your speed to 20 miles per hour and keep on toward Fort Benton for 3 or 4 miles and then turn back and go back to the city. Again, it's kind of complicated.
yeah, I was like, did they have
So
this
many
with them so they
instructions.
could? Yeah.
It would be a lot easier out there because it would have been, one pole
Right.
and just the road, nothing out there at that
Yeah.
point. So,
So now you're just looking for lights at
Yeah.
15 miles an hour, and then you're going to drop and then accelerate, but not too
But
much.
not much. Yeah.
Just a 20.
yeah. This
You
was
know,
going to take a long time.
Do they have equipment that's even judging? Oh, you went to 22.
no.
This is silly.
Also, this is, I should just look this up, but it's at a one-seated car.
But
and
you have
two
to bring
people.
another person with
Yeah.
you.
Well, keep in mind it's like bucket seats or
But maybe it's just the one bench
Is
seat.
the
Yes,
guy just
there
like
we go.
holding on in the bench seat?
Like you can't have the trundle. I don't think that's the right name.
because they wouldn't have had any type of like trunk on this, so they couldn't sneakily hide. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So weird instructions. Okay.
If you do as directed and deal square, the body will be returned as promised in 48 hours. But if anything is done to attempt to arrest us, the body will be destroyed that night, and the matter ended forever. Now we mean business for the last time.
For the last time. Okay.
Yeah,
All
because
the other
remember they
times.
failed
Well,
an
they've
attempt
got
before.
yeah.
So Conrad sought advice from his friends. He enlisted the help of former Sheriff Joe Hamilton to ride in the vehicle with him. They filled a sack with iron washers instead of money. Groups of officers were set to come from Fort Benton and to watch the bridges across the river and the entrance of the city. The plans changed last minute, however. Arthur Conrad, Hartfield's brother, rode in the car instead of former Sheriff Hamilton.
Well, that seems like the wrong decision.
Right.
As the boys went on their way, mix-ups ensued. Because of course they did.
I mean, there's a lot of instructions. I'm not going to get it right.
No.
They dropped the sack of coins at the wrong light along the road, so they dropped a handkerchief at the correct spot in hopes of attracting the blackmailers anyway. They went out of ways, then turned around to head back to town. The Conrad brothers saw a man in the dark by where they had dropped the handkerchief. The man raised his gun, and both Conrad brothers fired at him as they went by. They then continued back to where they had dropped the bag of washers to meet up with Hamilton. Anybody want to take a guess?
Hamilton's dead.
Hamilton's not there.
Oh.
Upon their arrival, a horrible suspicion came upon them.
Uh-oh.
They drove back to where they fired upon the suspected grave robber and found they had shot their friend.
Hamilton.
Oh.
They became almost unhinged as they sped back to those waiting near the edge of the city. Sheriff Collins and Chief Pontent verified the tragedy, but they don't know who fired the fatal bullet. And the body of baby Conrad was never recovered.
Oh, and no bodies. They never figured out who the body snatchers were.
Nope.
Huh?
Yeah, it's
This is unsettling.
Yeah. What a
I would first.
no satisfactory ending to that one.
I would never have guessed to take a dead body and ask for a ransom.
No.
Second, if I was a sheriff, I certainly would have never thought of it.
Right.
Oh,
Huh. Yeah, that's
this is
just
so that one's bizarre.
it's really bizarre, and the instructions are bizarre, and yeah, nothing ever came of that.
And you have to put a personal ad in the Tribune.
Right.
just
Oh.
just
I
to
do
keep
kind of
talking.
like we have a record of it though. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, this was really interesting, and this was one of the ones that I had the coroner's inquest for Sheriff Hamilton. Like I said, we have the painting of baby Conrad. We also have the original photo that the painting was done from.
Oh,
Since he had spinal meningitis, he couldn't stand for long periods of time, so they took a photo and then made the painting from that.
Gotcha. Did what was I gonna ask? Oh, is there still a marker at Highland Cemetery for
Baby
baby
Conrad?
Conrad?
That's a good question. I need to go out there and find out.
Yeah, I'm curious because if there's still like a marker there, even though they never recovered a body.
It does make me wonder now. I'm just pulling all people into this. In the Mighty Mo, there's a picture of a
Oh, the
kid
baby.
up on the ceiling.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is baby Conrad.
Oh, I don't think it looks the same from that image to
Okay.
that one, but maybe. I mean, you never know
Yeah, I'll have to ask them sometime because
if they know what kid that is.
That kid is maybe a little bit older than this one.
But that doesn't mean it's not a portrayal.
that's baby Conrad.
Yeah,
See,
no,
to me
it's
it
not
looks
the same one.
I was gonna say, I was like, to me it looks a lot different, but you never know.
Yeah, that is not the same one.
Child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Well, that was
It's a completely different era child
Yeah.
that is on the ceiling at the Mighty Mo.
Interesting.
and that one is not on this.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
Number
which-
6.
Yeah.
Oh,
we,
number 6. There it is.
we were trying to
Okay.
find a location downtown that we could mark for that because it's like everything happens
Everything's
outside
out.
of town.
Yeah, but that was where the bank was.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anybody wanted to see a building or a
Inspiration.
location.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Another sad fact that goes with that I didn't tell you for this
Ugh.
is Miss Locker, the card reading woman. That followed her for her entire life.
Of course, she's labeled as a Scarlet.
Yeah.
Close.
Not Starlet. That's something else.
Scarlet.
Yeah.
that
Scarlet
the
letter.
right-
She has a scarlet
Okay.
letter on her. Yeah.
So Miss Locker.
Yeah, Miss Locker, that followed her all her life. Her mother even didn't believe her. And she eventually committed suicide.
Oh my gosh. That's awful.
The women always pay in the
Yeah.
late days.
Mm-hmm.
Or the
Yes.
early days, I guess is what they are.
Yeah, because they're
Oh,
never
both.
believed for
Yeah.
anything.
No.
Mm-hmm. Both. Yeah. Well, that's
He
there's
was
just
fine.
a lot of
He became president of
Right.
the local.
right. No one ever questioned
Fraternity.
him anymore. Okay, that's a whole other. We're going off the rails.
He
Okay.
wasn't involved, really. He was just...
He just
He just
was
shacked up with this
cohabitating.
woman.
That's true.
Yeah.
He didn't
Well, he
predict what happened
Sorry.
to the.
He could have made an honest woman out of her.
That's true.
He chose not to.
So she predicted the whole directions of the weird directions of the baby's snatcher thing?
Yeah, she mentioned some details that hadn't been released to the
Okay.
public, and then she correctly guessed what the people were going to do next.
Oh.
So that was a little too suspicious for them.
Yeah. Interesting.
I would agree.
Yeah.
How unfortunate to be that lucky.
Right. Right. No
or that
kidding.
aware.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so our next story is called Wrong Place, Wrong Time.
Oh.
This one's a little bit short, but
Okay.
this one's really interesting.
Okay.
It was a typical Sunday morning at F.J. Guys and Company warerooms at 217 2nd Avenue South, now known as Magpie.
Ah.
Yep. Machinery row.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Shipping clerk Walter Reed was working on the platform adjoining the building. Down in the basement, Clerk Lyons was at work. He had just given the signal and started the 3,000-pound freight elevator from the top floor down.
Freight elevators.
They're awesome. A shadow came from the alley entrance and passed by Clerk Reed, going unnoticed. The shadow walked to the gate and stopped, placing his head over the 3-foot gate, possibly to look into the basement. The elevator noiselessly descended until the shadow's head was pinned between the floor of the elevator and the gate.
How does it noiselessly descend? This is early like those are not quiet, right?
Well, I mean, if they're well oiled or something.
Okay. Sorry,
Well,
continue.
you're also in a freight area, so there's just
There's
a lot
just
of
a
noise.
lot of noise. In
Yeah,
general.
there's a lot of
That's
stuff going
true.
on.
That's true. Okay.
It's not like it's a dead silent night and then the elevator
That's
clicks
true.
on and
That's
goes
what I
clunk,
was.
clunk, clunk,
Yeah,
clunk,
that's
clunk,
okay.
clunk.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Clerk Lyons heard one scream and quickly turned off the power. The office staff and clerks working the platform rushed to the scene only to find a dead man with his head and face crushed into an unrecognizable mass.
Oof.
The man was Walter J. Holmes, an agent and collector for Leslie Publications Company. He was only 23, black hair, blue eyes, and 5'10". He had come from Ireland, but now is buried in Calvary Cemetery.
Oh my goodness.
Why he ignored...
Why he's there? Why he's
Yeah, the back door he came in was specifically only for staff, so I don't know why he thought he should go through that door anyway, but...
And why he was looking in an elevator shaft for anything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to go with this one. Just 2 articles in the newspaper, and that was it. I mean, they didn't follow up much more on this, other than unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
there now. Sorry, Magpie. I'm going to say this. Isn't there still?
Yeah. Is that the spot?
That's
Yeah.
the spot.
That's what I thought.
The
That's
place
what
in
I thought.
between?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you can walk through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, they love this story.
Okay. Was that the level that it happened on? Or was it lower?
I would have to think that would be the level because he was
That
looking
would be
down.
the level, because he didn't go
Yeah.
upstairs or anything.
Okay.
And there is a basement in there, so...
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
know that next time you're in.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
It's still in a building that we can access today.
And that section.
yeah.
And it still feels very industrial right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I love
I
what
mean, they've
done.
cleaned up
Yeah.
they've cleaned it up a little bit.
Yeah, you're yeah.
No, I do love what they've done with that building. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Wow.
That's crazy.
I had heard when I've been in there before, I've heard that there was an accident with that at some point, but okay.
now we know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
as soon as I found this story, Ashley McCann, our collections curator, she's like, I gotta take this down there to them so they have a copy of the
Yeah.
whole story and everything.
Put it right
That's
on the
funny.
wall.
Right. I
Yeah.
was like, do they have
Peer
her
down.
post it? Right.
See if we can.
See, what you should do is put it in the elevator and people
then
read it
people
and then be
like,
like, oh God, why
Right,
am I?
like, they have to like lean to like read it and then whoop, yeah.
Oh, that would
goodness.
be funny.
Okay.
Okay, so this next story is the longest one I've got.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's also the one I'm still working on.
Okay.
So let me tell you about a couple of things. There's this fabulous resource called newspapers.com.
Uh-huh.
Not a plug.
But if
Just
you're
an
looking,
observation. Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing research, it's pretty helpful. And it gives you access to, well, for us, we have access from the Great Falls Tribune from first issue to last month, plus tons of other papers. And that's been a huge help with the researching and doing all kinds of stories. This one I had done a few years ago when we only had access to the Great Falls Tribune online. Now I have Great Falls Leader, every other newspaper in the state. It's great. And that's what's made some updates for this. But it's still not a complete story. I've got emails out to the cemetery, to the sheriff's office, and then I have another email to Mark Johnson, who is the foremost researcher in Chinese history of Montana. Because I want to know, and it's like, you know, can't always repeat what you know in the newspaper.
Sure.
This will be a perfect example of that. But I want to know how valid some of this stuff is. And unfortunately, Great Falls does not have a good history with Chinese people. We've made very bad choices. Not today, but in the past.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, causes some of the unknowns and misunderstandings is there's not somebody to come and say, no, that's not true. This is what it is. So this one is called Box of Bones and a Game of Telephone.
Oh, I like the title. Creative.
Thank you.
Okay.
This was printed in the Great Falls Tribune on August 25th, 1910. While workmen were engaged in cleaning out the basement of the old Bach Cory and Company block, which we know mostly as the old Montana Power Building, and it's now empty. It used to have the quilt people in it.
Yep.
Yep.
At the head of Central Avenue.
Next to Keller Guys.
Guys. And
Which-
across from
Which
Park-
means Ghost in the Cellar.
Yeah.
Yay, just a side
There
note.
you go.
Yesterday afternoon, a small wooden box containing a human skeleton was discovered.
Oh. Just a box
Yep.
of a skeleton.
The find was made in one of the darkest corners of the basement and created somewhat of a sensation. The bones of the skeleton were all jumbled together in a small box and evidently had been there for a number of years, as several of the larger bones were blackened with age, where they had been exposed to the few rays of light that had found their way to the gloomy sections of the basement.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, found a box of bone. That's weird.
Yeah.
Weirdly, this is the second time this has happened.
In that spot.
No, in Great
Just
Falls.
in Great Falls. Okay.
Also, maybe let's not be the town of just finding boxes of bones.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's so cool.
Okay.
Also, the fact that some of it had been exposed to light, like that means, I mean,
Somebody's opening that box on
right.
a regular basis
Did
to go.
somebody see that? Like what?
Put it
yeah.
back.
Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Let's not ask any
Yeah.
questions.
The Great Falls Leader, August 11th, 1892.
So we're going back in time.
Yes.
Okay.
The warehouse man at Murphy Maclay's store made a rather startling find Wednesday among some old express packages which had been in the cellar for the last 3 years. The firm of Murphy and Maclay were at the time agents of the Montana Stage Line, and when the stage company moved its business there, there was left behind at their warehouse a collection of unclaimed baggage which has lain there ever since. Murphy Maclay, corner of 2nd and Central. I think there's a spa place in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Same building. That building's still the same. That's kind of neat. Wednesday afternoon, Mr. Wren, who worked at the Murphy Maclay, set a man to work cleaning out the baggage to turn over to the stage company as they required the room. And among the packages was one that gave off so offensive an odor that he opened it to see what it contained.
Oh, no.
On opening the box, a tin box was found within, and inside of this again, wrapped up in cloth and matting, was found a human skeleton, partially prepared. Still not entirely sure what that means, but
Yeah.
Well, they got through part of the process.
yeah. The astonished finder held his nose while hastily nailing up the box and reported his discovery.
Good call.
Okay,
Like nailing it shut's not going to let the
Right.
stank out.
so this is the same box.
Okay.
It's
Same
the
from-
same box.
It's the same box.
They found it
From 1892 to now 1910.
Yes.
Okay.
So what happened
two
is-
different buildings.
Yep.
It just gets up and moves around.
Oh.
So what happened is 1892. Let me see if I can explain this. This is why having multiple newspapers is invaluable. The Great Falls Tribune just says, "Hey, we found this box," and then that was August, and then in October they're like, "Oh, it was somebody told us it was the body of the Chinese man that was sent over the falls."
Oh.
That they were told that, which I'll tell you right now is not true.
Okay.
If you go to the Great Falls Leader, they did a 4-part series on this thing.
Tribune says found a box of stuff. This is what happened. Leader says no.
No,
Here's
there's something
4
going on
parts
here.
to the
Yes,
story.
okay.
They actually did some really good detective work. And so when they found the box in 1892, it had Chinese writing on it.
Okay.
And what they did is they found somebody out in Sun River, because there were actually Chinese people out in Sun River, and got them to translate it and everything. They found where the box came from. It was shipped to Great Falls from Lewistown in 1899. And, 1889.
89.
Sorry.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
And it was postage due, which is why it was sitting waiting for the stage company to do
my
something.
gosh.
Again, they didn't know what was in it.
Yeah.
But So what happened from this point is they tried to do something about it. The box was stolen.
Oh.
Murphy Maclay put it in their backyard, and somebody stole the box from the backyard. And then we find it again in 1910.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody had stole it. They're like a
And
porch
then
pirate, and then
realized,
they're like,
oh, this isn't anything good.
This was not what I meant to take.
This wasn't a box of handbags I
Right.
can resell on the black market.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And then I love the 1910 version of this too. Is 1910 leader is like, hey, remember that box we told you about years ago? It's still there. Great Falls Tribune's like, oh my God, box of skeleton. And then they, like, over the next 2 days, put in completely outrageous stories that are definitely not true about this box.
Oh.
One was said to be a laundryman who was murdered out in Fort Shaw.
Okay.
Not true.
Well, no, how can...
Hang on, I got
Simply
you.
can't be true if it's coming from Lewistown to here.
Mm-hmm.
You could have to ship it to Lewistown and then ship it back. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense. Okay.
And then another one, which is one of the stories I don't tell you, but there's a QR code for,
Oh, okay.
is they said it was James Wilber, who was a notorious murderer. He did murders in 1899.
Like the victim was this murderer?
No, he killed... they think he's the murderer.
Oh, okay.
Quick snapshot, James Wilber killed 5 people and was caught, and then he hung himself in the Cascade County Jail and was buried. Somebody stole his body, too.
Oh.
What is with our history of
Yeah.
stealing bodies?
Body snatching. Oh, goodness.
So they thought it was maybe him because of because his body's missing too.
Right.
Again, not true. Well, you know how you play that game of telephone, where it gets less true down the line.
Yeah.
So I went and looked, and I read all the stories that the people were telling, and I think I found the original guy. I think I know who it is.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you
I wanna hear
disclosing
your-
it, or do people have to come to the museum and buy you chocolate to get to know?
I'll tell you. That's part of the story.
Oh, you had an opportunity there for free chocolate. Yeah.
I mean, if
You
anybody
can
would
still
like to
do
bring,
that.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, if you enjoy these stories, please bring free chocolate.
That could be your donation. Yeah, there you go.
Cash and chocolate.
Yeah.
So, based off of all these stories, what we do know for sure is that it was sent to from Lewistown in 1899. That it is
1889.
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep. No, you're good.
1889, specifically August 15th, 1889.
Okay.
We also know that it is a Chinese person or Chinese involved because all of the writing on the box at the time was in Mandarin or Chinese of that
Okay.
kind. And we know it's a man
Okay.
based on skeletal structure and that sort of thing. Now, here's where this is probably a little weird for everybody. During this period of time, when a person of Chinese descent dies outside of the country, specifically usually in the United States, they would be buried and then taken out of their graves when they were only bones, because there was a tradition of being buried back in China
Yep.
to rest your soul. According to this box, he was being shipped to a group in San Francisco who does specifically that.
Huh.
So, based on the stories that were told and where it came from and that sort of thing, I think that this gentleman's name is Sam Lee.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you what happened to him.
Okay. I'm so excited.
Good work. Yeah.
Again, having access to other records helps a lot.
Yeah.
If I'm murdered, I want you on my case.
Yeah. No kidding.
Okay.
Megan, on it.
Sam Lee.
The Mineral Argus, which took care of Maiden and Fort McGinnis at the time, later known as the Fergus Argus of Lewistown. August 23rd, 1883. Last Thursday, the citizens of Maiden and the vicinity were thrown into a fervor of excitement by the reported killing of Sam Lee, a Chinaman running a laundry at that place. It seems that on Monday, August 13th, Sam Lee went to the Collar mine to collect his week's washing and returned with a sack full of clothes, stopped at the Russell Saloon to get such articles as the proprietor had for him to wash. He left this place between 3 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon and had not been seen since.
Ooh.
Nothing serious was apprehended until Thursday, when suspicion was aroused and the opinion expressed that he had met with foul play, as bloodstains were found in the road and on the rocks in the bed of the creek. The place bore evidence of a scuffle and attracted the attention of several parties who, feeling confident that someone had been killed, followed up the clues, searching the hills and brush around in every direction, and found a small lathe hatchet covered in blood, a pocketbook, butcher's knife, and candle near where the pool of blood had been seen. This was convincing proof to all that a murder had been committed on that very spot.
Anytime I find a candle and a butcher knife.
And that the murderer had taken the body and hid or buried it in the vicinity. Now, I know it sounds a little strange when I read some of this. I'm reading it straight from what the paper wrote.
Right.
But they write it so good.
Yeah.
They used to write so flowery. A search was at once inaugurated to find the body, and after an hour or two diligently scrutinizing the hillsides, grass, and woods, it occurred to someone that it might have been thrown into a prospector's hole.
Oh.
This proved the right theory. But on reaching the nearest claim, 1,000 feet from where the crime was committed, and peering into the hole, nothing could be seen, as darkness had set in. A candle and shovel were then procured, and one of the party, jumping into the excavation, removed some of the loose dirt that bore evidence of being lately handled, and in a few minutes saw the fingers and hand of a man.
Oh, no.
That was sufficient proof that the murdered man's body was there, and the party concluded to leave it just as they found until a coroner could be notified and an inquest held. The suspected parties, Henry Lee, Ok Tong, and another Chinaman, were arrested by Constable Fletcher and placed under guard. And I'll get to why they think that.
Okay.
When returning to retrieve the body, arriving at the hole, a gunny sack was found bearing evidence of having been used to wipe off the hands of the murderers. A shovel was produced, and on removing the earth, a horrible spectacle was presented to view. The body was found lying on its face with the left arm thrown over the head and tied up with a clothesline wound several times around the body and cut by a knife in several places. The clothes were burnt and badly torn and showed every evidence of a terrible battle for life on this part of the deceased. A rope was then attached to the feet and shoulders of the corpse, and it was drawn out of the hole and placed on boards, where it was examined by Dr. Ron and the jury. On removing
Not an actual jury, just a jury, like people.
Well, they were inducted into a jury.
Okay.
Yeah. On removing the clothing of the deceased, several large, ugly cuts were exposed. One on the left side of the neck, a little back and below the ear, that was evidently made by a hatchet, severing the jugular vein and spinal column.
Oh.
Ooh,
Super dead.
and spinal column.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Didn't
not
feel
coming back
much
from
after
that.
that.
On the right side, at the waist, was the cut that penetrated the intestines and had the appearance of being made by a large butcher knife. And in the back, a hole apparently made by a .38 caliber bullet from a
goodness.
revolver. Yeah, this is nuts. They wanted him dead.
Yeah.
He's just a laundryman.
Yeah.
The left side of the face was horribly bruised, probably caused by dragging the corpse over the ground or being
dear.
hit by a club or other instrument.
Oh.
Evidence and witnesses brought up what they knew. The hatchet found was the property of Henry Lee, that he was seen to pass over the road between 3 and 5 o'clock Monday, August 18th, that the accused was seen coming towards Maiden a few minutes ahead of the deceased, that a feud existed between the deceased and accused, and that the accused had been heard by 2 or 3 witnesses to say that he would kill the deceased.
Ooh. That's probably enough.
Henry Lee and Ok Tong were taken to White Sulphur Springs to await the next convening of the court. Because, of course, out in the boondocks, you don't have court all the time.
Sure.
You got a jury, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Enough to say, yeah, we think you guys did it.
Yeah.
Henry Lee escaped jail on October 11th.
Oh.
And nothing was ever mentioned about Ok Tong after that.
Huh.
So there's some more stuff that goes with this.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I'm still doing some digging. Specifically, let's see. So I'm trying to find out where the body is, and that's the emails to the county and the cemetery.
Yeah.
Because in the 1910 one, they said, oh, we're going to turn it over to the county authorities and see. They'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no follow-up in the paper about that, so I'm bugging somebody over there. There's also the chance that they just reburied him out in the potter's field.
Yeah.
So I do know that Renee Phillips, who works over there.
I've been exchanging emails with her. You can expect more from on our pages about that too.
Yeah. They do have at least kind of a list of who's buried out there, not where, but who. And, mysterious box with skeleton in it might pop up since I can give her some general dates and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting on that end for those two. And then this is where gets kind of silly, but this is one of those things where reality is sometimes stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can explain this well enough. This is why I had to send an email out specifically to Mark Johnson. So one of the stories said that this guy was killed because he opened a laundry where there was already a laundry set up, and this is not okay by a group called the Hop Woo Society.
Okay.
Which is, or also called the Six Companies. And it's a Chinese benevolent society. But as we all know...
doesn't sound very benevolent.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that they were meant to help Chinese people in America, help your own. But there were also things like these people that were called tongs, and basically they carried out blackmail and things like that.
Oh.
So there's a suggestion that Henry Lee and Ok Tong here were assassins sent to kill
Oh my gosh.
Sam Lee. And again, it sounds really strange, but when I started digging into this, it's a real thing.
It seems like realistic.
Oh yeah, because a lot of the times the tongs would kill with lathing hatchets, and it says later they would also shoot people too. And I'm like,
well, that tracks. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Wow.
I 100% believe the direction you're headed, only because I also watched a TV series on AMC that is based on real things. And it's about when the rail line came through Montana as it was heading west. And all of the things you've been saying are things that happened in that TV show.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah,
yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, there's always some basis in reality.
Sure.
I just don't know how far I believe it if that's something that happened out here, because this was a group based out specifically in San Francisco.
I believe you. I believe it just because this TV show I watched, it is fictitious, but about 40% of it is based on actual stories.
Yeah.
And some of this is exactly what happened.
Interesting. So then we think that they were like descendants, or the community out there was then in the process later that had gotten to the point where he had the remains and they were trying to start the process of sending it back home.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Because, it was sent from Lewistown, which would have been the closest bigger town to Maiden at that time. And it went as far as Great Falls. And there's stories about that, too. The newspaper was very descriptive in the stories it was giving. But I also was trying to, cut out all the random stuff. And I'll do a longer podcast or thing on this later. But it got here, and it was postage due. So the stage company wasn't going to send it further. But it said specifically it was going to Nine Yong in San Francisco, and it was an address that had been for this benevolent society.
And then they send it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I'm
basically-
so excited to hear more about this when you
Basically, it
figure
was
it out.
Sam Lee. We can maybe draw a conclusion that the whole postage due thing is what stopped, made this
But
whole process.
Here's the thing. They, based on this TV show, they did not like competition.
No.
Yeah.
And so he was competition, and he was not gifted the opportunity to start. And so he was eating in on their profits.
Yeah.
Eliminated that.
Yeah.
They did not want him in Lewistown anymore.
Yeah.
As a remain. So they shipped him as far as that would get him. They didn't care.
And then somebody else can figure it out.
Yeah, surprisingly, they would have still been trying to honor him by sending him home.
Yeah.
If all of the stories are true, their mistake was asking a white man to do it who didn't care. So he didn't use all the money to ship it, which would have been enough. He drank some of it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Anybody
Oh, boy.
likes good whiskey.
Yeah.
Look at all
My
this extra money I
goodness.
have. I can just get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all I have left. Get him as far as you can.
So we might at some point have an update if we learn more if he's in Potter's Field or
Yeah.
anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, I would like to try and
So
find him.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And then eventually get him back to.
I really would like to try.
Yeah. That would be
wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, people. If we break this news.
That would be amazing.
And they don't have their podcast ready yet.
over 100 years later, Megan comes in and gets this gentleman home. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, unfortunately, it just said county officials will take care of it. And I know that the building, the Bach Cory Building, the quilting shop is for sale. And
Yes,
I'm like,
it is.
I could just call them and ask if I could go in their basement.
That
100%. Yeah.
100%. That basement is so creepy too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny.
It's got weird little, I'm going to call them cells
Yeah.
that you just, there's no door on them, but you just go back. I'm like, what is going
What are all
on
these
here?
little compartments?
Yeah.
all storage and stuff.
Yeah.
For the different businesses and things that would have been in there.
No, you
But
should get yourself down there. Yeah.
I can make that happen.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's still down there,
Oh.
I mean, I would like to know. I really would like to
Yeah.
know. But
Could still be there.
I mean, like I said, I never found out what happened. I do have calls out, but I'm waiting to see what
Yeah.
happened. But yeah, I
Ooh.
may get that phone number off of they have a phone number in the window that you can call. And
Yeah. 100%. Just
gonna do
do that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to keep us
Holy
posted.
moly.
That's intriguing. Yeah. Okay.
I only have one more story left for
Okay.
you guys.
Okay.
And this one,
Honestly, it's good because I don't know if my heart can take
If your
much
brain
more.
and heart can, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I apologize. This one's sad, but this one's a little personal.
They've
to
all
me.
been a little sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
This
they
one's
are
personal,
grim
huh?
tales.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is true.
And this one's personal, which means it's
Oh.
probably a family member.
No, but
Oh, okay.
I think you'll see why.
Okay.
So this one's called Remember Dave Smith.
Oh.
You have never heard of Dave Smith. Dave Smith was a 68-year-old sheep herder. He lived in Great Falls at the Great Falls Hotel, 217 First Avenue South. As he left the morning of January 27th, 1946, he turned in his key to the front desk and stated that he wouldn't be back.
Oh.
Rose Hopkins of the James Hotel was sitting in the public cafe across the street when she heard 2 shots. She looked out and saw Smith crouch low and then collapse. The first shot went wild and went through the window of the Auto Electric Power Company at 201 First Avenue South. The second hit its mark. Smith had shot himself through the heart.
Oh.
Officers found him laying across the curbing, face up, and his shirt blood splattered. A .32 revolver laid in the snow near Smith's right hand. When the coroner did his examination, he found a note in Smith's pocket. I'm old. I have lost my health. Why should I linger? I'm leaving with no regrets. Wish me luck over the divide. I may need it. There's no one to notify. Good night and God bless everybody. I worked many years in Montana. Cascade County will not grudge me a place to sleep. Who I am, it makes no difference. Good night and God bless you.
Oh, that is so sad.
And the reason this one is particularly personal to me is I've had friends who have suicided. And he probably did have somebody somewhere who did
Yeah.
care.
But he didn't believe that.
Yeah.
And then he just felt like the whole county was against him. Like there's I don't have a place to stay. I have no place to go. I've given my life to you. Oh, Dave Smith.
Oh. Well, we're remembering
miss
him
you.
now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I figure at least his name is somewhere now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing his story too. There's a lot here. Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of other stories I could tell you someday. I mean,
Are you planning to do this like on an annual basis then? I mean, because honestly, this takes a lot out of someone.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this was just 10 years worth of finding stuff. And I mean, I know I have
Oh my
more
goodness.
stories that I could do some more digging on.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, the red light district is full of that stuff. Women committing
Yeah.
suicide by poisoning all over the
Oh my
place.
goodness. Well, and I noticed a lot were from a similar time frame, too,
1910.
which, I'm like, maybe I'm glad I wasn't in Great Falls in 1910. My goodness.
Well, it was a little bit more lawless then.
Correct,
Not
yeah.
just in Great Falls, but all over the
Everywhere.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, Great Falls at that time was still growing up as a Western town. And even though it was more organized than a lot of the towns in Montana, it still had what would be called typical Western pieces.
Yeah.
Most of the area that we were looking at here, besides downtown businesses, is where the prostitutes were, where the jail was at, all of this kind of stuff. And just where all of the slightly shadier places were at the time.
A little bit more industrial, a little bit more low income.
Yeah, and the railroad's right in this area, so the workers
That
would live
south
nearby.
side of Great Falls thing.
The thing that's interesting to me about this map that we have access to and that you can't see because it's a podcast is the location of the jail.
Yeah, no, it took me a little while to find that, but that's where the original jail was at before we built the one that's over by the courthouse.
Where is it?
Number 8.
It's
Oh, yeah. Huh.
easily, definitely 5 to 6 blocks south of where it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
A little bit more towards the freight yard.
I mean, it's not there now today, but the building
Correct.
is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was checking specifically because our jail wasn't built until 19 teens.
Okay.
And it was built with the same stuff that built the courthouse. But, at the time,
Yeah.
that was also the police department. So,
Yeah.
old
Yeah.
Western time, police are here, jail's in the same building.
Yeah.
Yep. Courthouse is right next to it because everything
You
revolves
just go
around
back
that.
and forth there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should have brought you guys a picture of that specific area. But that block in particular, like the center of that side,
Yeah.
is all just jail yard.
Okay.
So it's
Huh.
that's why we wanted to give people a map to get an idea of where stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, what?
Huh.
Well, and what it
Yeah.
looks like today is so different than what it looked like
Mm-hmm.
then because
Yeah.
of the way towns developed and grew.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the big
Yeah.
thing with a lot of these is none of these buildings are still there. There's a couple, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Was this? I was trying to remember the dates of when the Ozark Club was in that
1930s,
area.
1960s.
Okay, so that was later. So like
Yeah.
where Dave would be
yeah, that'd be
become
closer.
where it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. In layman's terms, South Side was kind of poor in minorities.
Mhm.
North Side is rich.
Yep.
From 14th out would be described as growing families.
Okay.
That's how I would put it. Anyway.
Okay.
So a typical town development.
Yeah.
Oh, so crazy.
Huh.
Thank you for doing all the research
Yeah,
on this and then
good
coming
work.
and sharing these stories with us.
Yeah. Oh, they're great, and I'm glad
Yeah.
I can share them with you guys.
Absolutely. And please keep us posted on things you find out.
So this becomes your own next little walking
Historic tour.
Yep,
Yeah.
you can. We'll just give you this sheet of paper.
Yeah.
and you can walk around and see where these things would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's our hope. We want to do a downtown, like a South Side tour of some kind at some point.
Well, and some interpretive signs just on the block of
Yeah.
this is what happened here would be so neat because then you could walk around and go, nothing's there today, but this is what it looked like and this is what happened in this spot.
Speaking of Butte, Butte's been really good about that.
Yeah.
They have a cutout at the parking lot of where the boarding house used to be that Frank Little was yanked out of before he was lynched.
Oh.
I really wish we could do some more stuff kind of like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Just because, you lose all these great stories or these
Yeah.
places, and people always are at the museum. They come and ask, "Well, where was the opera house? We had an opera house."
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sad that didn't
I
stay up.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Twain spoke at this opera house, and we tore it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That's the parking lot that had the Wells Fargo
Yeah.
bank drive-through across from the library.
That's literally just nothing right now.
So we're just
Yeah.
going to put a statue in there with a
Yeah.
story on it.
yeah.
This will be part of our art installations.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we do get a decent number of people who walk in to our office who are looking to do a historical tour. And so we have, of course, the North Side historic walking tour, but it
Yeah.
would be really neat to add more to that.
Yeah. And that's something we want to talk to the city about is like, we'll help do the research and stuff. Can we please put interpretive
Yes,
signs?
yeah.
I know Ken Robeson in particular has been trying to do one for the Ozark Club.
Yeah,
And I would love to do one for the Opera House and a few other things.
that would be really
cool.
neat. Yeah.
So awesome.
Funding.
Yes.
So if you're listening, whoever has deep pocketbooks, just write us a check.
Yeah.
It can be blank with your signature on it, and we'll put the money to good use.
That's right.
It'll be amazing.
Telling these stories.
And we'll put out a personal ad in the Tribune, and we'll sign it GFMT.
There you go. Instead of HC. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for
you,
coming.
Megan.
Thanks for doing the research. Thank you for sharing these grim tales of Great Falls. And of course, a little bit of a detour of the fun, happy, shiny stuff. But it's the time of season where we
right.
know you want to dig
Interesting.
into this crazy stuff, learn a little bit more about the seedy underbelly of our fine, fine city. And now you can stop in and get information about these stories, and we'll send you out to where they happened. And if you want to dig deeper and form your own conclusions and write books and plays and interpretive dance, the History Museum is there to help you with that. So folks, get here and experience this stuff firsthand. It's going to be well worth it. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy, beautiful faces here in our fine, fine city, we do hope you are creating amazing, positive memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. See you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town.